Ready to go. Good afternoon and welcome to the October 5th regular meeting of Council. And the City of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. I wish to thank the Parksville residents for your outstanding efforts in following COVID regulations, not only here at City Hall, but throughout our community. Our actions have helped keep our community safe and healthy. And as we heard, traditional territory upon which, is there a delay? Can we kill that? I'm sorry. Sorry, folks, we're just having a bit of a repetition here. All right, we'll try that. Your actions have helped keep our community safe and healthy, and as we head into Thanksgiving and the fall and winter seasons, we hope these tremendous efforts will continue. As a reminder, the city's finance department is open to the public Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. till noon and 1 p.m. till 3 p.m., except for statutory holidays. Other city departments are accessible by appointment only, and residents are encouraged to access services electronically on the city's website. As well, the city's website continues to provide COVID-19 information and resources. You guys have done a remarkable job. The people in all of Oceanside have done a remarkable job since January. We're still sitting at 6 people that have contacted COVID. Right now, there's nobody in the hospital. There's nobody been identified with COVID. And, you know, it's just something to be proud of, that we're one of the few areas in all of Canada that have had that much success. So congratulations to everybody and all the efforts. So consent agenda. For part A and B, I need the minutes of the council meeting and the approval of the meeting agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor O'Brien, second by Councillor Greer. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Correspondence. We have one piece of correspondence on the agenda from the city of Port Moody, who are asking for our support for the dedication of 1% provincial sales tax to local governments. I need a mover and a seconder for the letter to be received. Moved by Councillor Chandler, seconded by, I need somebody, Councillor Fraz. All those in favor for receiving? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Reports. Mrs. Weeks, could you please give us the background on the issue regarding the 2020 fall grant and aid applications?
The purpose of this report is to establish the allocation of the grant and aid funds for the fall intake, the recommendations as per the council agenda.
I'll just bring it to council's attention and anyone watching is that in the spring grant and aid, we had some applications that were removed or others that did not take place. So that's why we have a little bit more money that was available to give out to the 3 organizations. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so for $3,075 to be allocated to the 2020 grants and aid budget, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Mr. Russell, way back there in the back of the room, could you give us background on the first issue?
Certainly, if I may, Your Worship. Quality Foods is seeking to advance an application to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch to permanently add a patron participation entertainment endorsement to a food primary liquor license that they've applied for at their new premise called the Upstairs by Quality Foods. In order for the city to provide a recommendation in either support or opposition to such an application, we need to undertake public consultation. At this time, we're seeking to proceed with that aspect of the application. The recommendations are as per the agenda in the report.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Chandler, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Discussion? Councillor Chandler?
Thank you, Worship. I'm familiar with a similar model that they have at the Harewood location down in South Nanaimo. And it's a really well-run, very classy scenario and a good addition to what they do right now. So I like the idea that that might happen here. Thank you.
Anybody else? Fair enough. So all we're saying here basically is we're going to put up a sign and we're going to solicit input from the public on it. And then we'll make a decision after we receive that. Fair enough. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. My goodness. Mr. Russell.
If I may, Worship, for council consideration this evening is advancement of a development variance permit application and development permit application for a 5-plex at 243 Corfield Street South. At this time, we are seeking council permission to advance the application for notice for the development variance permit. There are variances with respect to the setbacks of the building, as well as some more minor relaxations, including elimination of garbage disposal to allow for internal containment within the building, and some others as detailed in the report. So as I said, at this time, we would like to advance for notice. And then upon receiving public input, we would then bring both the development variance permit and development permit back for further council consideration of issuance.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Fraz, seconded by Councillor Greer. Discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Mrs. Weeks, you're back at the table.
Try and use a microphone that works.
Good idea.
So this is in accordance with the community charter. Council has discretion when considering applications for property tax exemptions. The city has a policy which provides guidance to council on the consideration and approval of permissive tax exemptions. So the policy was originally adopted in 2004 and revised again in 2013 to encourage a phased approach to reduce the amount of permissive tax exemptions over a 10-year period. So in accordance with the policy, the permissive tax exemption granted to each applicant would need to be reduced by 7.6% or $18,895 in order to comply with the policy objectives. So this would equal approximately 1.67% of the tax revenues for 2021 and the recommendations as per the council agenda.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder for it. Councillor O'Brien, seconded by Councillor Greer. Discussions on this? Councillor Greer?
Thank you, Worship. I think going back to when we established the ceiling of 225,000, we had quite a discussion on council at that time because it was getting out of hand where the amount of money was rising all the time, which of course affects the tax rate. So I don't know how we've got over the 225,000 since then. However, we have, and I guess we have to draw it back at least to 225,000. But I also would like to know how many other places that we give permissive taxes to, such as Berwick, 22, Corfield. I mean, there are others that aren't on this list, which affects the tax base. Do we have any amount on that?
Does anybody have the sheet with it all on that was provided? There's a list that goes.
Yeah, but it
two
doesn't.
sections.
It doesn't include these.
Pardon me? No, Berwick, we have no idea because it's not built.
No.
At this point in
but
time.
what I'm asking is, there's other places such as Berwick, 222, I believe, and.
Yeah.
and
Okay,
some
well,
other
222 is a provincial and it's exempt.
Yeah. I just
That's
want to
a
know how
whole-
many others there are,
Oh,
since we're dealing,
no, they're statutory. They're statutory.
yeah.
They're statutory.
Right.
So we don't have any say over that. They're by province.
No, I
that
realize
gets done.
that.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, I see the Director of Finance is here, but correct me if I'm wrong, we work on a percentage of tax revenue, not on a flat amount. Is that not correct? We try to work 1.67 is what we're shooting for. I'm going off the top of my head now, but.
Yeah, I think it was 225 until we reached 1.67%, and that was the cap.
Yeah.
So the cap is 1.67%, which is now more than 225,000. So it wasn't the lesser of the two, it was until the 1.67% was reached, is the way the policy reads. So we're using the 1.67 and bringing the exemptions down to that level.
No further?
Just, if you allow me just to make a quick comment here on this, because it's something that I had fairly in-depth conversations this week about after I read all of this, because my God, you got to be a Philadelphia lawyer to figure out how all of this works. And I think it's time that we maybe look at this and see if we can simplify it down to something that's workable.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, that we have more of a conversation on this,
Well,
because,
at budget time, I think we can bring that up.
but it has to be done by the end of the month, though. That's the problem.
No, this here is done. We're voting on this, but we're talking about at budget time, we can talk about it for next year, or the following year. Counselor, sorry. This is-
If I may, Your Worship.
Yes.
We actually had this item on one of our orientation workshops as an agenda because there's a lot of legislation and a lot of different options that council can consider. So once COVID has passed and we're allowed to get together in person and remember we were kind of doing lunch and learn orientation sessions, we would definitely put this one back in front of you to talk about. There's lots of different ways we can do it that are a little bit more simple for sure.
Counselor Greer?
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, and we can do it later for sure, that's not a problem, is that we've creeped up over the 225, and maybe it's time that we look at even the 225 to bring it down from there, because it affects the tax base. And I think there's a lot of these places that maybe should be paying their fair share. Anyways, it's good for discussion later.
All right, we can bring it up. I'm sorry, Marilyn? Counselor Wilson, sorry.
Through your worship, the mayor.
Counselor Wilson, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
You're on mute.
No, I'm actually not, but
Oh, wait a minute. We're going to fix you up here in just a second.
Later.
I'm sorry. Are you there?
I am here.
Okay, and we can hear you, so please go ahead.
All right, so thank you. Yes, following Councillor Greer's question, those were questions I had. And how much leeway do we have right now to perhaps bring this, at least keep it in line with what the 225, the 167, or even the possibility of lowering it? And I realize we will discuss this in budget. I think that's a great idea. So do we have other leeway right now? Are we more or less obligated to pass this as it stands?
My
Question for-
understanding for this, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's not 225 that we're dealing with, it is 1.67% of the overall tax budget. So that's why it's over the 225. Whatever 1.67% of our tax budget is what the amount that we're dealing with. So to answer your question, it's locked in that way. And then there's a formula that calculates, okay, because it's X, then everybody gets 60% of their tax exemption or 70%. There's a whole mathematical formula. And that's why I said it's very complicated and we need to sit down and have this conversation in an actual meeting so that we can figure.
Can I respond to that, please?
Yeah.
I believe it was 1.8 something right now, the way it stands, it would be over that 1.67. So I guess my question would be immediately right now, can we bring this back to 1.67, at least for this year?
Director of Finance is saying that it is at 1.67%.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it went over at one. Okay, well, that's fine then. So I think I'll leave this to discussion.
Okay, and it's just so everybody understands, it's at 248,000? Okay. Okay, so we're in the guidelines right now, but I think it's worth the conversation when we can sit down and have our meeting on it. Yeah. All right, anything. So we got it, Councillor Greer?
Just one more thing. We had an advisory board, which I was the chairman at the time, and when we set that cap at 225, how many years have we been over that cap? I mean, I don't know how we got over that cap to start with. Why didn't we decrease the percentage?
When we set this at this point in time, we don't know what the next year's assessments are. We're doing an estimate. So when the actual assessments came in, there were 50 years where the assessments came in quite a bit higher than our estimates. We don't know if they're going to increase assessments 50% or this year's and our 3% increase on taxes, and if that's what we use. In some years, some of the assessments came in much higher than what we thought they were going to. So in those years, the actual exemption that was granted was slightly higher than 225,000.
Is this the first year we've gone over that?
This is the first year we're approving one that's higher.
Right, right,
The other ones that came in because the assessments came in higher than what we thought.
right. Good, thanks.
Okay, got Councillor Fraz and Councillor O'Brien.
A couple of comments there. One for the mayor is just to clarify what the motion that we're discussing right now. Is it all of the recommendations were moved, or were they individually, or?
You can do it either way. It was moved and seconded for all of them, but we
Okay,
can-
no, I just wanted clarification
Okay.
on that. And then comment to Councillor Greer is just that I think what I'm hearing is when that dollar figure, it was not so much, that might have been the dollar figure at the time, but it was a percentage that they were more speaking to, and that dollar value is going to fluctuate. I think if we try to hold on to a dollar value, but assessments keep going up and up, we're just falling behind continually. And in fact, that would mean that the percentage rate is actually dropping lower and lower. I think it might be more fair to, the way I understand it to be, we're maintaining that percentage value at 1.67. And I would expect that that permissive tax exemption would increase each year if the assessments are going up.
Okay, I've got Councillor O'Brien, and then we'll give you one more shot at it, Councillor Greer.
Thank you, Your Worship, and to echo what Councillor Fraz mentioned as well, I think the 1.67% was a very fair policy put in place at that time that your committee did come up with, and it still appears to be working. And I believe that it's a good policy at 1.67% because it's 1.67% of taxes, which generally allows for the fact that the assessments could go up or down as they may be. But the thing is, by going by the percentage instead of a dollar value, we're still maintaining that 1.67% only of taxes, of total taxes. So I really think it's a good policy you have, and it's not really that confusing because the only confusion comes in is the fluctuation based on assessments. So the thing is that as it is right now, I think it's a good policy, and I support all of these recommendations because it has maintained that 1.67%. I'm fully in favor of the recommendations as made.
Councillor Greer.
Yes, I understand that, but at the time, going back to what it was 6-7 years ago, it was getting out of hand because back then the valuations were going up as well, and we were up well over 250,000. So we brought it back, and that's why we brought the percentages back. So my feeling is that we shouldn't be giving, as our assessments go up, we shouldn't be giving more and more money out because that affects the taxes for everyone, which is not really fair. So I would really like to prefer to have a cap every year rather than do it on a percentage basis, because otherwise we're going to be giving more permissive taxes every year. And that was the problem we had 7 years ago, was the fact everyone at that time thought it was getting out of hand. So we brought it down to a ceiling. Anyways, it's something that we can discuss.
The CAO will speak, and then you can be next.
If I may, Your Worship, just wanted to clarify for council. a few years back, all of the folks that applied for permissive taxes would get 100%. And that exempts them from other taxes in addition to municipal taxes. But then in order to keep the cap, we actually, about 4 years ago, I'd say, started reducing it. So you'll notice that people are getting 94% exemption or 93% exemption, so that we are maintaining that 1.67%. It was actually the reason why we remember is it was quite a big change for a lot of the folks that were used to getting the full 100%. So there has been definitely I would say, a shifting in that we used to always provide the 100%. And in recent years, we are not anymore, in an effort to try and keep it within a manageable amount. And one other note is that we tend to have a very stable number of applicants. It hasn't changed much at all over the years. So those folks, I think there's about 13 or so of them that always apply, have seen their tax exemption reduced a few percent every year, I would say.
Okay. You okay? All right. All in? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Mrs. Weeks.
Yes, so this is, in December 2018, Council directed staff to prepare a bylaw to address the potential for land use conflict on city sidewalks and streets. The amendment bylaw was presented for council consideration and approved in April of 2019. Over the past year, staff had monitored the effectiveness of this bylaw, and while the bylaw has helped, staff are finding it difficult in some instances to enforce effectively without any bylaw offense penalties. So having a penalty attached to the bylaw would assist bylaw officers in promoting safe and efficient flow of pedestrian and vehicular traffic in the downtown core, and the recommendations as per the council agenda.
Fair enough. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Bryan, second by Councillor Fraz. Discussion on this. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Bylaws, I'm going to put my glasses on to read all of this. Bylaws, 3 readings. The bylaw offense notice enforcement amendments to designate bylaws contraventions and penalties and screening officer positions, number 1486.11. And number 2 is permissive tax exemption bylaw 2020, number 15.67, the 2021 permissive tax exemptions. I need a mover and a seconder for both of those. Moved by Councillor Greer, second by Councillor O'Brien. Discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Notice of motion was provided at the September 9th meeting for zoning amendment for accessory buildings. And the recommendation has been presented. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Fraz, second by Councillor Chandler. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you for that. Does any member have any notices of motion? Okay, moving right along. New business. Does any member of council have any new business? I have one, yes. Just Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to recognize some work done just recently on the tour to Rock with Councillor Fraz and Joe in Des Moines, who had raised some dollars at Save on Foods for while the team was coming through. It was really great to see that. I unfortunately missed it because I was at work, but it's a great cause, and Councillor Fraz was very involved in it. So I just wanted to thank him, and of course our shining star Joan as well, who always does an amazing job. And I mean, at her age, it's so amazing the energy she has. It's unreal. So thank you.
We were just saying before the meeting that nobody walked by without getting an arm put on them for putting a donation in the bucket. And Adam was just as guilty on the other side. It was like a 1-2 punch and going through that at the crosswalks there. So yeah, congratulations to both of them for all of that. So new business. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. I'll keep a list. Cool. Please. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Recently, the Vancouver Island Regional Library passed its budget for 2021. I'll leave the information in our chambers and that for anyone who wishes to go over. But just a quick little breakdown for Parksville specifically was that it had a capita change of 56 cents per so it amounts to a 1.76% funding change, levy change. It's kind of interesting and everything how, well, I think it is, and that is their motto and everything this year is stronger than ever. And it's had a challenging year with not being able to be inside a library, but it's had a lot of work in getting books and information and online information out and available to different communities and everything as well. Some of the things that happened as well is that Vancouver Island, the library is an award-winning in their Indigenous Voices program. So that's across, and they've done a lot of different work with some of the different collections and eliminated fines on children's material and that too. So in some of the different demographics and different communities, that's a bit of a challenge and everything for some young families to have a lot of fines and everything as well. So I just wanted to kind of touch base on that, and like I said, I'll leave that in our chambers.
Thank you very much. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship. At this time, I'd just like to give recognition to the City of Parksville Park staff at the recent completion of the Shelley Creek Park and enhancement feature that has just been finished up there. At Shelley Creek, we were speaking with the Parks Department beforehand, and they described what they're going to do. And I just want to say that they excelled in so many cases of this. The new trail is down with a new bedding material that's turned out to be all accessible. They've got a beautiful new bridge over the creek, which is going to protect the cutthroat trout that are there. And the other thing is that there's interpretive signage going up and another planting program. And they worked collaboratively with many other groups between fisheries and MIVAS and so forth to make a very nature enhanced program. And so shout out to them, because this was by our own staff that have done this, and they've done an amazing job. And so I just want to say for those in the listening public that are out there right now, if you haven't visited Shelley Creek Park lately, you should. I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody else is finished. All right, and I make a request to council for approval to introduce the following motion for consideration without notice this afternoon. So that means we need 100% or a unanimous vote so that this can come right to the floor. Everybody's received the recommendation that's there. Can I ask for a mover and a seconder on this? Moved by Councillor Patterson, second by Councillor Greer. Discussion moving forward. Yes.
Just curious, does this have a time? Is it time sensitive at all? Yeah.
We're going to bring Councillor or the manager of communications up. She's going to talk about it. So you can answer it then if that's the case. Okay. I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, that was just in regards to the way.
Yeah, and the answer is yes. It is very time sensitive. So, all right, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried unanimously. Bring it on. Would the manager of communications please come forward and tell us what this is all about?
Can you see me above this desk?
Not many desks have televisions in the front.
That's it. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm a bit confused. That motion, is that the motion that you just approved with, no?
No. We just approved the fact that we can take a vote on your motion
Sorry.
that you're bringing forward.
Thank you. On October 1st, I submitted a grant application for $2.264 million to the Community Culture and Recreation. The application was submitted under the community category as a recreation and sports infrastructure upgrades to the Parksville Community Park. In order to validate the application, the grant application, a revised resolution is required from council in support of the application. They're very clear on what needs to be included in that. They provided a template. So the resolution that council passed back in July, I submitted it as part of the application, but by the end of the day tomorrow, I have to provide them with what they're looking for. The application that submitted, which was for the $2.264 million, included converting the tennis courts and everything is in the community park, to 8 permanent pickleball courts, and then resurface and reconfiguration of the lacrosse box, which the reconfiguration takes it from 6 courts to 9 courts, and then the resurfacing allows for multi-use in the box. That was $490,000, and just over $80,000 of that is actually the resurfacing of the lacrosse box. Also included in the application was a multi-use sports and recreation building, 115 square meters with washrooms, change room, mechanical room, storage, flex space, concession space, energy efficient, all those good things. And that, the cost of that building is $1.773 million. So, and there was a 20 to 30% contingency included because of the class asset and where we're at with the concept. The contingency changes. So one of the projects is 20%, the other is 30%. The application did not include paving of the gravel parking lot. It really didn't fit the application criteria as infrastructure. And the other thing that I didn't include was the conversion of the kin hut to storage, which was about $50,000. It really truly muddied the grant. I'm telling them why we can't change, why we can't convert that building to the new building. But then on the next hand, I was going to tell them we wanted to convert it to storage. Kind of negated my reasons for wanting a new building. So those were the two things that council was part of the council application in, or resolution in July, that were not included in the grant application. The other thing with the parking lot, we didn't have a proper estimate, and we were looking at probably about 50% contingency, which wouldn't fly as well. So I think that's all, unless there's questions.
Let's put it on the floor for discussion before we go any further. I need a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Chandler, second by Councillor O'Brien. Okay, now, Councillor Greer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for all that information. I'm just interested in the multi-purpose building with the washrooms and everything and the kin hut. Is that in the same area? I mean, it's behind the ballpark and the lacrosse box.
If I may?
You please.
Sort of opposite ends of the gravel parking lot. The kin hut's closest to Corfield, the old washroom building, which, and then the other is sort of at the other opposite end of the parking lot.
Oh,
Sort of closer to where the outdoor stage is going to go.
I see. And that was the purpose for having it there? Was the out where the stage?
Not just the stage, but more multi-use for the park
Right.
and available space.
So we're still stuck with the kin hut. Nothing's happening there. too much.
I think ultimately that will become storage
Right.
for teams. It would.
Yeah,
and-
they're looking for more space there.
Yeah, and my understanding is the cost of that is about 50,000 to convert that building into storage.
Right. Too bad we didn't get the pavement for that lot because everybody's complained about that for years. Anyways, that's great. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we proceed to special business, I'd like to remind the public that our next council meeting will be held on Monday, October the 19th at 3 p.m. I need a mover and seconder to move into closed camera. Thank you. Pursuant to section 91E and K of the Community Charter, proceed to close meeting to consider items relating to land and the proposed provisions of municipal services. Moved by Councillor Greer, seconded by Councillor O'Brien. All those in favor? Excellent. Thank you. We'll move into camera and we'll take a 5-minute break.